Hi everyone, it's the YY Westie from Vienna. Today I'm here with Attila Kobori. He's an advanced West Coast swing dancer and a very experienced ballroom teacher and a competitive ballroom dancer for many years. Hi Attila.
Hi Yuval.
How are you?
I'm good.
I have to state that Attila is also one of my best friends here and my coach. What's the origin of your very unique Hungarian-Italian name?
Yeah, my name suggests I'm Hungarian. My family is from Transylvania, which is actually part of Romania, but we're like the Hungarian minority there. And my surname is Kobori, which sounds a bit Italian, but actually it's not, it's just Hungarian too. Also the name exists in Japan. It means like a water drain or water ditch. My entire family, especially on my mother's side, they're musicians, and my dad.
Do you have any famous musicians in your family?
Well, it depends. If you're into classical music, you might have heard of them. But if you're not really into that, it's like with famous dancers. Everyone knows famous soccer players, but not really famous dancers. So, well, it's famous.
Do you also play something?
Yeah, I do play piano. I've been playing since I was 5 or 6 years old.
But you didn't want to make a career out of it?
No, I didn't. I kind of saw the struggles of it. I always think, that's not going to be my stuff.
So what made you fall in love with dancing?
When I started dancing, I was 15 years old. I remember my first step I did was with my left foot to the side. I instantly found out that's a cool thing actually. At that age, in Vienna, it's quite common that people go to dancing school. We have this kind of social ballroom, which has not much to do with the competitive ballroom. And it's kind of a tradition that young people do these courses and then they dance on the balls and whatever. So I did that too.
What is the thing you like most about West Coast?
When I first saw West Coast swing, that was 8 or 9 years ago. That was a demo, and I did not like it at all. Like that was crap. Also, it was a demo by non-West Coast swing dancers, so I don't know what it really was when I saw it. It looked weird. And then I was like, I can't do that, and I just went on YouTube. But those videos 8 years ago, at least those I came across, they were crap. That was some utterly crap dancing, and I didn't like it at all. It was very, very cowboyish, and it was like, oh, that's so far away from my culture. Oh. I have nothing to do with that. What shall I do with it? And West Coast swing kind of disappeared. That was up until 2 years ago when I met Chris. He studied at the same university as I did. He was like, oh yeah, I'm into West Coast swing. Do you like West Coast swing? I'm like, I don't know.
This weird cowboy thing.
But yeah. So we figured out that we're both dancers and we both do ballroom. He's a West Coast swing guy. So I ended up spending, I don't know, like half of the night at Stella's place together with Chris, watching one West Coast swing video after the other. Now that was 2 years ago, so the videos had changed. And then I saw all these champions and doing that amazing improvisation to music. I remember I saw Ben Morris doing this impro stuff. He was so musical. It was so fascinating. I loved it. As a ballroom dancer, I automatically had this mindset that all these social dances are just less technical. I've done some salsa before, I've done some bachata before, and that was like all the fun part. When you're done with practice, you just go to the salsa club and have some salsa. And I wasn't sure about West Coast swing, and I saw West Coast swing, and then I thought, well, that looks much more dance and much more technical. Yeah, maybe I should give it a try. And I really fell in love with the dance, and the thing, it had all these things I was missing in ballroom. It had the spontaneous improvisations. It had the musicality. That was something that you don't really find that in ballroom. All these different influences from different dances, which you can see in West Coast swing, be it contemporary or hip hop or ballroom itself. That was so fascinating, and that was like, yes, I do want to do this dance, but I'm not going to compete. I'm definitely not going to compete Because I had my ballroom competitions, and West Coast Swing is going to be my new fun dance, you know. But then I was like, well, you know, maybe one day, but no, not now. And just a few days after Chris introduced me to West Coast Swing, I had like 3 privates, and he just stopped, showed me the basics. He called me in the middle of the night, it was like 1 a.m., and he was like, you know, there's this event coming up, it was Sylvester, the first Sylvester. You should really register. And you should also register for competition. Well, you know, it was in the middle of the night, I was like, you know, whatever, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I did it straight away. And then in the morning I would go, oh, no, why did I do that?
What have I done?
And then I was there, and I made first place in novice. You know, I should do that. And yeah, that's how I got into West Coast Swing, and that's the things I like about West Coast Swing so much. What I, on the other side, lack a little bit in West Coast Swing is the posture part, the technical part, the fine tuning. There is a lot of technique in West Coast Swing. There is still much more technique than I would have expected. But I would like, personally, that's just my opinion, I would like to see more of more dancing in a dance way, not just walking on the floor. Because I think, you know, if you dance competition, there is this optical component. And why not stand straight? Why not hold your core, keep it centered? And you know, the pros, they do it. So I'd like to see more of that being taught, because it's nothing that inhibits the spontaneous improv things. I think both can go along side by side pretty well.
And you give these workshops, right? I mean, you teach posture, you teach body control.
Yes, I do. It is a new thing for me because it's very normal in ballroom, but it is a new thing for many people in West Coast Swing. The other thing is, the community in Austria is quite young. West Coast Swing hasn't been around for many years yet. And it's growing fast, and we're all very happy to see that. And the people are doing a great job. But for body control, you either have to have that mindset that you want to make yourself a good dancer, a competitive dancer, whatever, or you tend to get bored by standing in front of a mirror on one leg for a lot of time. Also, many people find even the very basics of this body control topic quite hard, quite difficult to do. But I think everyone can try to stand more straight, more upright. It's gonna help your dancing, it's gonna help everything. But I also think that competition is a big motivation to do all these things. And if you do not compete, you might not want to do all that.
What's the reason for you to compete?
For me, competition is fun. Even if I don't win or I don't make it to top 3, sometimes not even to the finals, but it's also the thing itself that is a competition. I like to compete. I like to challenge myself, and I like to see where am I? Am I better than him? Am I better than this guy? Can I beat this guy? You know? I mean, let's face it, what is competition about? It's about being better than the other, right? And you just want to show that you're better than the other. You want to show yourself you're better than the other guy next to you. And I think that's a fun part of it. Some people might disagree, and some people might say, hey, this is exactly the reason why I do not want to dance competition. And it's also, you do have a great time on the dance floor, especially in spotlights. You can have this fun, literally have fun there.
Has it always been like that? Because for me, as someone who just started competing 1.5 years ago, it's a very stressful experience, and as someone who usually doesn't make it to the finals, it's usually a very disappointing experience for me eventually. Was it like that for you in the beginning, or is it something that you never experienced?
I think everyone who says he's not nervous at a competition, at least a little bit, is a liar. Straight up. I think that in the beginning you are more nervous than later, and I think it's like a wave. There are competitions where I'm less nervous because I don't really have anything to lose, anything to gain, you know. If it's a big international ballroom competition, for example, and you know you're somewhere in the middle and you just do it, I'm not nervous, really. If it is an event, for example, in West Coast Swing, where I've spent a lot of money on, and I want to get to the next level, and I'm lacking, I don't know, 3 or 4 points, and I have to make one of these placements to get those points, then I'm much more nervous because I've paid money, and the competition is a central thing for me there on this event. It's not only about parties or workshops. Yeah, of course, I'm more nervous there. Also, the first competition in the next level is always a bit more of a nerve-wracking thing. I think you can get used to it, and by teaching, I teach every week. I think that talking in front of people really gets you used to this situation, standing in front of a crowd and dancing or talking or doing whatever. I think this helps because I remember I used to be nervous in the very beginning when I started teaching. I used to be nervous before classes, and now I'm not nervous at all. So maybe you get this point and in competitions where you're just not nervous anymore at all. I haven't reached that point yet, but it might come at some point. About the disappointment if you don't make it to the finals. Everyone is disappointed if you doesn't make it to the finals, you know. Especially if you've made it to the finals once or a couple of times and then suddenly you don't make it to the finals anymore. But I think this is also a matter of mindset, and with time you just realize, okay, well, this was, you know, it could have been bad luck. It can always be bad luck. Or your performance was just crap and we have to work on it, you know, this is the best critique.
What do you do in order to calm yourself down before the competition?
I think about how I dance and that I know what I do.
And do you see yourself becoming a West Coast Swing pro dancer one day? Is it something that you like to do?
I've never planned to become a professional dancer in any way. But since then it has turned out that now I've been teaching for more than 5 years. I don't think that I'd say I plan it, but it can happen. I still try to have a biologist career or a wildlife photographer career, but you know, the dancing thing, it can happen. It's nice if you have it along, so I definitely plan to do it and to do it even more and to become better and better. I don't think I want to reach this limit where I say, oh no, it's enough. I think you can always become better.
Well, you're a competitive dancer, it's
yeah,
that's the approach.
Yeah, that's the approach, I think, and it is, for me, this is an important approach, because for me there is no point where you know everything. For me, there is no point where you say, oh yeah, I've done that, I'm good. Like, in these dancing schools, you do these levels, you start with bronze, and then you go silver, and gold star, and after gold star, I was like, oh, now I'm a pretty good dancer, now I know everything. I've done some special courses, some special classes, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to dance now. And then I went to the sports club, the Ballroom dance sports club, and I was like, oh shit, I have no freaking clue how to dance. And everyone was there, like all these Eastern European people, they were like so good. And I was just standing there in the corner, and I was like, oh my god, I don't even know these steps, but what the hell are they doing with their bodies? What is that? And I realized, no, hell no, I have no idea of dancing. And now since then I've realized there is no real point where you are a good dancer or a bad dancer. You're just in this constant process of evolving.
As an experienced competitive dancer, what's the most important thing that you would give a competitor?
Practice your basics. Make sure your basics are really solid. And do not only stick to practicing basics. For me, that helped a lot. Because at some point, if you practice basics, and all these basic principles all the time, you kind of get stuck in that. And you have to widen your horizon in that way, that you take in more advanced stuff and practice more advanced stuff. And then you go back to the basics, and your basics are going to improve. And that's one thing. And the other thing is, I know that it is important in the beginning to focus on one information. If you have lots of coaches and everyone's going to say you maybe even the same things but in different ways, as a beginner you're probably not going to be able to figure out what's what and what's best for you. But At some point, listen to other coaches, go to different coaches, and take in the information, you know. Maybe it's something good for you, maybe they explain the same things you've been working on and you've been struggling with for years, and they say it in a way that something in your mind goes click and it's there, you know.
What's the mindset with which you go to a competition?
There are sometimes competitions where I'll go in and I'm like, okay, you go in with that mindset, you're going to win this, and you're just better than anyone else on that dance floor, and even if it's not true, you know, you just have that mindset and you give full power and you have a good self-confidence that you put on the floor. I usually tell my students to find this calm, grounded position on the dance floor.
You mentioned that you are a nature photographer and you're a biologist, and I know that you've been traveling around the world for photography and for research. I would love to hear about one of your last trips.
I've had 2 recent trips. One was to the Comoros, which is a group of islands between Mozambique and Madagascar, South Africa. The other one was a photography trip. So the Comoros trip was a science trip. The other one was a photography trip, which was to Borneo. I try to do one big trip every year among all the smaller trips, which is to some exotic country, which is primarily for photography, wildlife photography. It's really like a work trip. It's not holiday. You stand up early, you go to bed late, and sometimes you'd spend all night in the rainforest. I love it. I think it's a great contrast to dancing. I really got addicted to it, just like with dancing. I got really so much into that I could not imagine stopping.
What was the most frightening moment in your life?
Okay, so I had a couple. So there was this moment in Costa Rica where I was on top of a car and we were going 100 kilometers per hour through a forest. Before that, there was a guy pulling his gun and pointing it towards us. So that was pretty frightening. There was a free climbing moment once or twice where I almost slipped and fell. That was pretty freaking dangerous, and I'd like to say that I would not do it again, but I probably would. What else? Yeah, well, I think the single most frightening thing, which I promised to myself I would never let happen again, was a bite by a venomous snake in the middle of the rainforest in Costa Rica, far away from everything. It was a dry bite, so it did not inject any venom. They can control that. It was just a warning. But it was a potentially deadly snake, and in that moment I was like, oh no, it just happened, I cannot undo that. And you just sit there and you see, yes, both hands have hit your finger, and oh, what are you going to do? So we spent the following hour just doing jokes about death and waiting for any symptoms to appear, which did not happen. So I was like, ooh, yeah, because I was really far away from the next hospital, and that would have been very, very not good.
Thank you very much for this.
Thank you. It was great. It was great.
I enjoyed it a lot. I think that our audience will enjoy listening to your tips and to your experience and getting to know you better. Attila is available for privates. So thank you. And goodbye.
Goodbye.
The first time that you ever touched a snake?
I was 10.
How did it feel?
Oh, well, it felt good. I'm straight, by the way. There was a couple. They were walking up to this other dancing instructor. This guy, Attila, he's one of those homosexuals, right? Hello. I'm preparing for this interview. I'm super excited. And I'm buttoning up my shirt to look more elegant for you guys. Hello, my name is Attila. I am here to have interview today with Yuval. It's nice. Okay, we change location. This is Cotton on the 2. Interview nice.